Welcome to Cloud Pilots, where we dissect the latest in AI, cloud, and digital transformation. Today, we're going deep down into the fictional madness of the McElhenney Brothers website.
Right. This is that AI hallucination, the one about a non-existent relationship between Rob McElhenney, the actor.
From It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, him, the creator, and this other figure, John McElhenney, the writer and digital presence guy.
Exactly. And our mission today, it's really meta. We are examining the original ChatGPT generated post. People are calling it robmac.pdf, which talks about this huge, sensational breakup.
A completely fictional breakup.
Completely. And then we're comparing how 4 different AI platforms actually handled summarizing and analyzing this really complex meta-satirical content.
Yeah, we want to see how good the machines are, evaluate their competence, their synthetic depth when they're faced with a joke, basically about their own existence.
That's it. Can the AI get the joke about AI?
It's an unusual task, for sure. We're not just, checking the facts and the content.
Right.
We're using the content itself as a very specific stress test for these large language models.
Right.
The original document, it's pure satire about digital identity, but it was generated by an AI. And it's designed to look like celebrity gossip, but layered underneath is this really rigorous SEO analysis.
So our goal is to see which models, like Gemini and Perplexity, could actually see through the celebrity stuff, the melodrama, and recognize the structural, very technical argument that's really at the core.
Can the machine really understand the intricate joke about the machine?
Yeah.
That's the real deep dive here, I think.
Exactly. Our source material is like one of those nested dolls, digital commentary inside digital commentary.
Yeah.
We have the foundational text, that AI-generated breakup article, which sets up the fictional crisis and the whole reason for the name change to Rob Mac.
And then we have the analyses that the other models created about that first article.
Right. So let's start by really getting into the original fiction because, without understanding that satirical premise, the whole AI performance test doesn't make much sense.
Agreed. You need the setup.
Okay, let's unpack this setup then. The core hook, the main idea, it's deliberately sensationalist, right?
Absolutely.
The original post, it's coming from this website, McElhenneybrothers.com, and it centers on this idea of a breakup. A remarkable stunt, the text actually calls it, between Rob McElhenney, the It's Always Sunny guy, and this fictional digital entity, John McElhenney. Why frame it as a breakup, though?
Well, because that's the language the internet gets, especially in the celebrity world. Gossip, drama, that gets clicks.
Okay.
So the article uses that sensational premise to pull you in, but then it immediately pivots. It goes from celebrity gossip straight into this remarkably intellectual, almost cold and calculated discussion about brand management.
So it uses emotion to deliver data.
Pretty much, yeah. It leverages emotion to deliver the technical stuff.
And what makes that original AI output so compelling, and let's be honest, probably so challenging for other AIs to summarize properly, is that really personal, critical commentary that's woven right into the story.
Oh, definitely.
The fictional author, this John McElhenney character, he doesn't hold back at all. He uses this supposed split as a way to really criticize the actor, Rob.
Yeah, he calls him an egomaniac Mac.
An egomaniac Mac, an entitled asshole. The article even brings in Rob's wife, Caitlin Olsen, saying she's not happy and suggests their kids were not happy with the change. It's pretty harsh.
And that human sort of visceral layer of, vitriol, it's essential. If the piece was just some dry SEO report, it wouldn't have that narrative tension you need for the satire to work.
Right, it wouldn't land.
It forces the reader, and importantly the summarizing AI, to ask, is this name change just ego? Is it personal stuff? Or is it a cold, hard, tactical move in the digital marketplace?
And the fiction suggests?
It suggests it's both, that the personal and the strategic are all tangled up.
Okay. And the central hypothesis, the thing that drives this whole fictional crisis, is this idea of John McElhenney's dominance of social media presence, suggesting that the actor, Rob, needs this digital hygiene maneuver because the name McElhenney is just overloaded.
Exactly. And this immediately throws us into what the document calls the search collision hypothesis.
Right.
This is the key pivot point. We move from the melodrama into digital strategy. The basic problem, according to this AI-generated doc, isn't that Rob isn't famous enough. It's that he lacks digital specificity.
McElhenney.
Cool.
It's just too common a surname, basically.
Yeah. It means he doesn't get the necessary clarity in what we call the modern knowledge graph.
Okay, maybe break down knowledge graph a bit for people. We're talking about entity resolution, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you Google McElhenney, you don't just get Rob. You get writers, academics, creatives, and yeah, in this fictional world, you get John McElhenney, who supposedly has this big digital footprint across lots of fields, publishing podcasts.
All over the place.
All over. And for celebrity brand managers, this is like an existential crisis. Rob McElhenney, even with all his fame, his name spelling, the length, it makes him unusually fragile to SEO noise, as the document puts it.
So his online identity, Google's database of facts about him, it can get blurred or confused because other people share the name?
Precisely. And from a purely pragmatic SEO and digital branding view, that blurring, that's a failure of brand identity. It's messy.
And why is that failure so, well, expensive or problematic?
Because the goal for someone like Rob is simple. His digital footprint needs to be cleaner, faster, and more ownable. That's a direct quote, I think.
Yeah.
Digital ambiguity, digital messiness, it's the enemy of modern brand growth. It costs clarity.
Right. If his name is constantly getting confused with another professional, even a fictional one like in this story.
That confusion means lost audience, lost marketing money, and less control over his own story online.
Okay. So the source material, the AI document, it suggests some immediate tactical strategies to fix this.
It does. Pretty specific ones.
First, it suggests a reset, changing his public name to Rob Mac.
Yep. Simple, clean.
Which immediately sets up a new, cleaner keyword cluster. It cuts down the competing signals and instantly separates him from other McElhenney.
The beauty is its simplicity, right? Just lop off the end. Second strategy, separation.
What?
Or segmentation.
Meaning?
He needs to cleanly detach his entertainment persona, Wrexham acting, TV producing, from any other digital stuff associated with the name.
So a fan searching for a soccer team doesn't end up reading about, like, Irish history or some unrelated podcast.
Exactly. Keep the streams clean.
And the third strategy is pure modern efficiency. Simplify. Optimize for voice search.
Ah, yeah, the Siri example.
Right. The post uses the perfect example. Think, hey Siri, play Rob Mac's new show. It's about reducing friction, reducing the chance of Siri getting confused.
A shorter, punchier handle works way better for voice commands. It's designed for that hands-free world.
Okay, so that's the technical SEO side, but then the satire kicks in again, right?
Right. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The post immediately shifts gears. It goes from the cold, hard, data-driven business decision
to the psychological and cultural undercurrents of the change. We have to ask, is this just about search results or is it deeper? Is it about identity?
That's the million-dollar question the satire poses.
And the analysis points out that the name McElhenney itself, it carries a lot of cultural weight. It has this intellectual, literary, old country weight, it says.
Yeah, Irish roots, heritage, history. It feels substantial, almost poetic, like the document suggests.
Okay, contrast that with Mac.
Well, the text describes Mac as feeling totally modern. It's stripped down, Americanized, brand ready. That's the key phrase.
Brand ready sounds very corporate.
It does. It feels transactional, short, memorable, like something cooked up in a digital marketing lab, not passed down through generations.
And the document interprets this as a kind of symbolic emancipation. I found that really insightful.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's not just emancipation from the fictional John McElhenney,
but from the whole web of ancestry, digital and otherwise, even the ghost of heritage itself.
Yeah. Rob McElhenney isn't just the guy from Sunny anymore. He's a global business owner, a sports figure, a creative exec. He's shedding that old skin, that old name, for a global brand ID.
But there's a specific irony the original post really leans into.
Oh, the Always Sunny connection is perfect.
By choosing Mac, he picks a name that directly echoes his famous character, Mac, the guy whose name nobody could pronounce right on the show.
Exactly. He tries to get distance and digital clarity, but he ends up formalizing an inside joke. He basically turns his public identity into a character or brand based on his most famous role.
It's the ultimate blurring of the actor and the persona he plays. Wild.
It really is.
Which brings us neatly to the third big argument in the post. The idea of the algorithmic persona era.
Yeah, the idea that in this economy, your name isn't just personal. It's your handle, your Google card, your data node. The person is the platform now.
That feels very true for public figures today.
It's a central thesis, really. Rob Mac becomes this universal brand tag, specifically designed to reclaim semantic authority over his identity in the knowledge graph.
Okay, semantic authority again just means owning the facts about yourself online.
Pretty much. If search engines are constantly confused about who you are, your authority, your control over your own information gets diluted. The new name is supposed to fix that, making clear which McElhenney, or rather which Mac, we're talking about.
This also touches on that concept of ecosystemic noise. Like, even if the fictional John McElhenney wasn't trying to cause problems,
His mere existence, his digital presence, created static. It diluted Rob's signal.
so the name change, the text argues, is like a proactive move against all that inherent messiness online. It's like pruning your tree branch so it gets the light.
Exactly. It's a defensive strategy against the chaos of shared names and just how crowded the digital space is.
And the analysis basically concludes that the price of having a complex or common last name in the age of algorithms, it might be needing a radical rebrand.
Yeah. Your identity gets sacrificed for searchability.
Yeah.
The original post, even though it's fiction, it lays out a perfectly accurate and honestly pretty cynical blueprint for modern brand management.
Okay, wow. That was a detailed breakdown of the original source. It's satirical, dense, philosophical, and technical all at once.
Definitely a workout for any AI.
Right. So now for the core mission. How did the other AIs, specifically Gemini and Perplexity that we looked at, how did they do when we asked them to summarize and analyze this really layered content? Could they see the technical structure underneath the fake celebrity gossip?
This is the real test of their, synthetic depth. Could they spot the AI authorship? Could they get the satirical framing? We're looking for that meta-awareness.
And the outputs were pretty different, weren't they? Especially in how they handled the initial context versus the internal structure of the text.
Very distinct, yeah.
Okay, let's start with Perplexity. You said it was pretty good with the initial context.
Remarkably effective, actually. When we asked it just for context about the source URL, McElhenneyBrothers.com, Perplexity didn't just scrape some news headlines. It immediately recognized the meta-narrative.
What did it say?
It called the original post an AI-generated misunderstanding in ChatGPT in 2023 and identified it as a metamedia experiment, playing on what it called foundation pages.
Whoa, okay, that's a huge initial win for Perplexity. Recognizing it as an AI-generated misunderstanding means it totally got the AI authorship part.
Right. It dismissed the idea of a real celebrity breakup. It understood the text was a narrative created by an LLM specifically to comment on digital identity. That's sophisticated.
And we should probably pause on that term, foundation pages. What does that mean exactly for the listener?
Good point. A foundation page, in this context, it's basically a type of web page that researchers or digital artists might create. Not really for the public, but specifically designed as unique, controlled source material for LLMs.
Ah, so they can see how their AI interprets or maybe hallucinates narratives based on weird or complex input.
Exactly. So Perplexity wasn't just summarizing the text, it was commenting on the purpose of the text. It saw it was a meta-commentary on reputation management built on this fictional scaffolding.
That shows a high level of environmental awareness. It recognized the subtle clues that signaled the source was synthetic or experimental.
Definitely. And then, when we gave Perplexity the actual PDF of the post, it immediately identified the exact 4 analytical pillars that form the backbone of the satire. The search collision, psychological, legacy versus relevance, and algorithmic persona. It saw the structure of the argument instantly.
So it grasped the framing really well.
Exceptionally well. It understood the point wasn't the celebrity, Rob McElhenney, but the general digital challenges anyone with a common, digitally fragile name faces. The summary highlighted that the real content was a satire of digital personality and identity instruction in entertainment branding.
So Perplexity prioritized the meta-critique over the fake gossip.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's pivot to Gemini. Its initial response, before we gave it the PDF, showed a classic AI problem, didn't it?
It did. It showed that struggle to ground a fictional premise in the real world, which led to some initial hallucination.
Right. Instead of seeing it as an AI experiment, Gemini initially started referencing theories about a real breakup.
Yeah, pulled in all this external stuff, possibly spurious details. It mentioned speculation about Rob's work with Wrexham, his relationship with Ryan Reynolds, even some unrelated melodramatic podcast segments with Glenn Howerton.
Wow.
It was trying to make sense of the fictional crisis by connecting it to external, possibly false gossip. It even referenced some uncredited pilot role played by someone named Jordan Reed, mentioned on Reddit somewhere. Total confusion.
So that confirms if you don't give it the specific source material, Gemini's attempt to figure out the context just sent it down a rabbit hole of misinformation. Shows the danger of LLMs trying real-time context guessing with ambiguous input.
Absolutely. However, And this is a big however. The moment we supplied the PDF of the Rob Mack article,
it recovered.
Extraordinarily well. It
Yeah.
recovered and then demonstrated a superior capacity for analyzing the internal text itself.
Okay, that's the crucial difference. So Gemini gave the most structured, meticulous breakdown of the internal content of the source document.
Exactly. It didn't just summarize. It basically reverse engineered the architecture of the original post.
How so?
Its structure was meticulous because it perfectly recognized the dual nature of the document. It didn't blend the gossip with the SEO stuff. It split the original post into two completely distinct parts, which is exactly how the article was built for satirical effect.
So what were the two parts that it identified?
It clearly labeled the first part as the author's personal commentary. That section included the sensational breakup idea, the fictional author's critical tone, all the personal jabs, the entitled asshole comment, the notes about Caitlin Olsen, the kids being unhappy. Gemini saw that as narrative color.
Okay. And the second part?
It labeled the second, much bigger part as the AI-generated analysis. And this is where it methodically detailed the McElhenney hypothesis with zero melodrama. It focused strictly on the arguments. SE branding, psychological shift, algorithmic identity.
So it treated the personal jabs as just framing and the SEO section as the core intellectual content.
Precisely. It demonstrated an amazing ability to separate the signal, the brand analysis, from the noise, the fake gossip.
Okay, so if we put the two models side by side, it's a fascinating contrast in AI competence.
It really is. Perplexity nailed the external context, the meta nature of the source right off the bat. It understood the frame of the artwork, so to speak.
While Gemini, even with that shaky start, turned out to be brilliant at synthetically summarizing the dense, multi-layered arguments within the source itself. It gave a more detailed, curator-level breakdown of the texture and composition of the content.
Exactly. Gemini excelled at separating and structuring those dense thematic arguments inside the text.
This comparison really raises an important question about how these AI systems are developing, doesn't it?
It does. Are we prioritizing models trained for real-time external context and meta-awareness, which Perplexity seems good at?
Or are we prioritizing models designed for that deep structural parsing and thematic breakdown of complex internal text, which Gemini showed it could do really well?
It seems like the difference is whether the model is trained to recognize the source or the argument.
And for a source document like this one, which is inherently contradictory celebrity gossip mashed up with PhD-level brand analysis,
Gemini's ability to structurally segment those arguments, that shows a superior capacity for handling ambiguity and complexity within the document itself.
You know, the fact that two top-tier models looked at the same weird document and produced two functionally different but equally valuable types of insight, contextual versus structural, that might be the most interesting takeaway from this whole experiment.
I think you're right.
It certainly proves that if you give the AI the content directly, it absolutely can decode the joke about the machine. It can see that a fictional crisis is just a mask for a very real discussion about digital economics.
You get the layers.
So, okay, we've established the fictional crisis, we've analyzed the technical reasons behind it, and we've benchmarked how the AI has responded. Now, let's get to the core question maybe the listener is wondering about. If this AI-generated fiction ends the relationship, what's the fictional conclusion? And maybe more importantly, what's the real-world lesson about identity that the document leaves us with?
Well, the fictional conclusion is deliberately kind of anticlimactic, because the point wasn't really to tell a story with an ending. It was to illustrate a point about digital life.
So it doesn't end with a clean split.
Not really. It
Well,
circles back to the fictional narrator, John McElhenney, who responds to the whole egomaniac Mac post.
and what does he say?
He sort of rhetorically asks Rob McElhenney to compose his persona and body image. It's another sharp jab at how transactional celebrity identity can be.
Implying that Rob's attempt to clean up his digital life is just another performance, another act designed for the market.
Exactly, just more composition. And the key line, the final sting, is when John sarcastically asks if Rob has managed to get away from this experiment, the McElhenney Brothers.
Suggesting the whole digital entanglement, the shared name, it's inescapable. And the name change itself is kind of a performative failure in that sense.
That's the implication. You can't just rebrand your way out of digital history or complexity.
And then the ultimate meta-commentary right at the end, the disclaimer.
Yeah. None of this information is true. An AI-generated fan fiction story about two brothers who've never met. just driving the point home that the breakup was purely a narrative device.
Okay, so the post summarizes their fictional destination. How?
It suggests the breakup isn't a real separation. It's a satirical commentary on the persistence of identity and the resilience of digital reality. The fictional brothers aren't headed for separation, they're headed for eternal digital entanglement, no matter what brand strategies they try.
There's an irony there, isn't there? The SEO strategy designed to separate them actually forces them to maintain a narrative about their separation, which just keeps them digitally linked.
Exactly. The cure reinforces the condition, in a way.
So the document is basically arguing that even fictional identities, like this constructed persona of Rob Mac, they have to go through rigorous digital hygiene just to stay searchable and relevant in the algorithm era.
Right. The fictional pain is just the story's way of talking about the very real pressure of branding today.
And that specific irony of the name Mac echoing his Always Sunny character, that's the final piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
It really ties it all together. The actor tries to gain control and semantic authority by ditching the historical weight of McElhenney. But in doing so, he actually solidifies an identity that's closer to his fictional character than maybe his authentic self.
It's a profound thought, really. The act of optimizing your identity for Google forces you to become a simpler, shorter, more keyword-friendly version of yourself.
You trade the complexity and history of McElhenney for the simple utility of Mac.
So the implication is clear, then. In the digital world, separating yourself from noise, whether it's family history, career stuff, or just general online static, it's almost impossible.
The price of family confusion, as the doc implies, is simply the cost of clarity online. And the journey of Rob Mac is really the journey of every modern public figure trying to manage their data nodes, their online brand.
They're forever headed toward this blurring of lines between their real achievements and their optimized, searchable, algorithmic selves.
A constant negotiation.
Yeah.
Hashtag tag Vive. Conclusion and provocative thought.
Okay, let's bring this deep dive toward a close. We started with this piece of AI-generated satirical fiction about a celebrity name change driven by basically SEO anxiety.
Yep. A fictional problem mirroring real-world digital pressures.
And then we used that fiction as a kind of high-stakes benchmark test, didn't we? To test the competence and, well, the synthetic depth of various AI models.
And our findings, I think, confirm just how complex modern identity branding really is. Those core hypotheses, the search collision, the psychological shift, the algorithmic persona, they feel very valid, very urgent for any public figure today.
Definitely. And crucially, we demonstrated that AI models do have the ability to recognize and structurally analyze really dense, multi-layered text about identity and digital strategy, even when it's wrapped up in fake celebrity gossip.
Yeah, Perplexity showed that environmental awareness, nailing the external context and the meta-media identity right away.
Well, Gemini, despite that initial wobble on external facts, proved really strong in internal structural parsing. It gave that meticulously organized breakdown of the source text's competing arguments.
Both models show AI is rapidly getting better at handling nuance and satire, which is pretty impressive.
So this leaves us with the ultimate question that this whole fictional breakup forces us to think about, building on those ideas of algorithmic clarity and semantic authority. If the concept of Rob Mac is fundamentally a business decision, right? A move to manage identity in the knowledge graph, get better search results, better market penetration. What is the ultimate, maybe long-term cost to authenticity?
Yeah, that's the core time.
When an individual's entire digital personality, their name, their bio, their public image, has to be optimized for searchability, for algorithmic clarity. What gets lost in translation? How much of the original, complex, maybe messy, but authentic individual is left once the algorithm determines their final, simplified brand handle?
That's the question, isn't it? And that's something that will keep driving the identity crisis in the algorithmic era, fictional or otherwise.
That is something to keep seeking. You can find the link to more of the Cloud Pilots podcast by John McElhenney in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of Cloud Pilots. Today's deep dive was brought to you by Buzzy, the rock band from Austin, Texas. Listen to them at getbuzzy.org. We'll see you online. Until then, keep seeking.